Tom Cullerton to make his opening statement, which again is 2 minutes. And then we're going to let Seth Lewis make his opening statement, which will also be 2 minutes.
Seth is first, and
Okay, we're reversing that.
That's fine. Tom can go.
I was going to say, so we'll go alphabetical by first name. How quick I am. Yeah, I can roll with the punches. Okay, so Seth, we'll let you go first. 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here once again. For those who were here in 16, you're seeing a rematch of the 2016 race. My name is Seth Lewis. I'm a degreed engineer from the University of Iowa, a small business owner as a State Farm insurance agent, 2 boys, Max and Clark, who are the 5th generation to live here in Illinois on my side of the family. Married to my wife, Bhavna, who immigrated from India in the early 70s. We've been married close to 21 years now, and I am running to make Illinois a place where people want to live instead of a place they want to leave. Growing up in Iowa and attending the university, as an engineer, when you graduated, you came to Illinois to find a job. This was a tremendous opportunity here in our state. My wife, her family, they're in India, New Delhi, India, 1970. They had anywhere in the world in which they could choose to live. Took out the map and they chose Chicago, Illinois. That's where they immigrated to. Fast forward, I don't believe those decisions are being made by our immigrants or our college graduates coming here to a place that has such embedded wealth. We have more food, we produce more food than we can consume. We have more water, which to drink in Lake Michigan. We have universities of the highest standard. Our location is a tremendous asset. Airports, workforce, all the things that states envy over. Yet we find ourselves at the bottom of the list. I am running to be your state senator to help rectify that, to use my analytical abilities coupled with my diplomacy in order to make Illinois a place where people want to live again instead of a place they want to leave. Thank you for your consideration, and I look forward to spending the next half an hour with you.
Before I cough into the microphone. Hi, my name is Tom Cullerton. I am the state senator from the 23rd Senate District. I am the Democrat candidate. I was the first Democrat senator in DuPage County. Just so you know where our district is, it goes from Elmhurst all the way out to Bartlett, so figure Route 83 to about Route 59. I'm honored here to be here today. I want to thank the league. This is a tremendous forum. Every year I enjoy coming. As Seth said, 2 years ago we were here. I am running again for my seat. In 2016 I ran for my 2nd term. I still have a lot of work to get done. I was the legislator who passed government consolidation to start strengthening and working together with our units of local government. My background is I was the village president of the Village of Villa Park, a village trustee for the Village of Villa Park. I also, as my full-time job, was a hostess driver. So I sold Twinkies and cupcakes. When it comes down to being in Springfield, in the Senate, we have quite a few lawyers, etc. I am about the only blue-collar member left in the Illinois General Assembly. So when we talk about working class and when we talk about middle income, middle wages, my wife and I still live in the 2-bedroom bungalow when we moved out to Villa Park, and we only had 1 child. We now have 3 children in that 2-bedroom bungalow. All 3 of my boys are at Willowbrook High School, so I'm soon going to be lucky enough within 4 years to have 3 fine young men in college at the same time. So I have been honored to represent this district. I work incredibly with our local officials, and I look forward to serving another term. Thank you.
Okay. The first question is, what, if any, specific steps will you take to address inequalities facing women in Illinois? And I do know that on average nationwide, women make 80 cents on the dollar. In Illinois, the number is 78 cents on the dollar. So we'll start with Senator Cullerton.
So this year we did vote on the Equal Pay Act that the governor has vetoed. What I will do on that is when I go back down to Springfield right after the election, we have veto session. I will work with Senator Christina Castro to override the governor's veto and to set women more on a level playing field and address these inequalities. We also voted this year on the Equal Rights Amendment, and we were able to pass that through, at least in the Senate side. But overriding the Equal Pay Act is probably the #1 way we can affect that and impact that, and we should have that coming to us in veto session.
Okay. Seth?
As a small business owner, I employ primarily females in my office. I have for the past 10 years, and there is no discrepancy in pay for men and women. I am a big supporter that women are equal pay, should be recognized equally. My wife is very accomplished as a superintendent of schools. She has her PhD. She is compensated equally with her peers. So when it comes to viewing women as equals, they absolutely are. And anything we can do that's constructive to make sure that the pay is equal, I'm in favor of.
Back to Seth. What is the long-term solution to balance the state budget?
In simple terms, we need to quantify our revenue, understand where our expenses at, and then do what I call value-added engineering to make sure we're delivering those services to those who need it most as efficiently as possible. That's what my engineering degree taught me. I ran manufacturing plants, and anyone who has been in manufacturing in Illinois has gone through this process where you figure out what you need to do, what you're supposed to do, and then deliver those services or that product with the highest quality as is expected. We can do the same thing in state government. So quantify our revenue, quantify our costs, look to reduce expenses where we can.
Okay, Tom, same question. Long-term solution to balancing the state budget.
So long-term solutions. First, one of the initial things I did when I came in Villa Park, we had multiple agencies, multiple superintendents through different agencies. We ended up consolidating and bringing those superintendents together so that there was obviously less cost. We do the same thing here in the state. We've consolidated local governments. We've offered them that opportunity. In 2013, I passed that bill with bipartisan support. Actually, Senator Kirk Dillard was my chief co-sponsor. We have now expanded that statewide. So what we can start seeing is a infrastructure that comes together, where local units of government start working together, start coming together, and start sort of maximizing your dollars, especially out here in DuPage with our property taxes, what they are. So that is one way specifically right there. The other way specifically is we have to continue to pay down our debt and get rid of our bond interest payments. Full debt service payments every year. There were skip payments many years before, and now I have to stop.
You're good.
Staying with Tom, are you in favor of the progressive income tax? Please explain your answer.
So at this point, until DuPage County has a reduction in property taxes and until we actually see some numbers on a progressive income tax, I can't support it for the 23rd district. There are too many, right now property taxes is the #1 thing in our district. We have gone door to door. We have knocked over 120,000 doors in our campaign. My campaign manager's here, my field director will give you the numbers. It is the #1 complaint. Until there are actual numbers that come out on the progressive income tax, the property taxes in DuPage County are killing my residents right now. They are absolutely destroying my residents, and I'm seeing baby boomer after baby boomer leave this district and leave this state. So the last 2 proposals show that people below the poverty line would actually pay more. Until we see real numbers, I cannot support it.
Okay, Seth, same question.
I absolutely will not support the graduated income tax. I'm glad to hear our current senators say the same thing. I want you to remember it, no matter who wins this election, because my opponent has gotten over $1 million from J.B. Pritzker, who's floating this idea. He's supported by these special interest groups that's supporting this idea. So please remember that the individual who's on TV 4 times a night in your newscast wants a graduated income tax and has given my opponent $1 million. I absolutely will not support the graduated income tax.
Okay, staying with Seth, what's your proposal for dealing with pension reform?
Okay, pension reform is a big deal. It comes with Tier 1 primarily, those who became employed in the public sector before 2011. Those after that, Tier 2 addresses a sustainable pension for those in the public sector. So we have a constitutional obligation to deal with Tier 1 employees, of which my wife is one. So it needs to be funded. We need to make our promises. There are 2 things that I think we can do. The Bagnet plan or the Fortner plan or even Senator Cullerton, the Senate President, his plan, Tom's cousin, they all have consideration. So we need to allow those who are receiving a pension to consider options on the table. That can save hundreds of millions of dollars. The second thing we need to do, and this is not very popular,
Apparently not, they told you to stop.
You can pick that back up in your closing statement. Tom, your proposal for pension reform.
So, in the Senate, we had Senate Bill 1 back in the, I want to say, 13 when that first passed, was found unconstitutional by the courts when the governor first came into office. In the Senate, we actually had negotiated a compromised position that would have actually benefited, and we sat at a table and negotiated. That is our key to solving this pension problem. We cannot just say as legislators, we're going to tell you what to do, we're going to take away what you're going to do. That is why what we did when we passed Senate Bill 2640 was we had agreement for both sides of the table. And we saw a long-term cost of benefit, and we also saw that once the bonds that they were floating in the early 2000s to pay the pension bills, that money could go directly into the pension payments as well. So stop paying off the interest on the bonds, that money also gets allocated. So I would look to go back to the table, just like we did with Senate Bill 2640, and negotiate our compromise.
Okay, similar but different question. What do you feel is the solution to adequately fund education in Illinois? Yes.
Just wanted to make sure. So 2 years ago, my good friend Senator Andy Menard passed the school education funding formula, which was a revamp of a system that was inadequate for everybody throughout the state. It has helped the state of Illinois. It has helped districts that are suffering. It has helped districts that are in my district, Queen Bee, Marquardt, U46, to receive more funding from the state of Illinois. As we continue to utilize the education funding formula that we have now, the long-term goal, but this is on local people, is to get more money from the state of Illinois to help reduce our property taxes through basing your school funding solely on the amount of property taxes you take in. So my goal is to continue to work on the education funding formula, and I am proud that I was a co-sponsor of it, a chief co-sponsor, and I was proud that I voted for it and that the governor signed it.
Okay, Seth, what's your solution to adequately fund education?
In regards to the current Senate and Andy Menard's bill, I commend them for tackling a problem that has faced Illinois for decades. That is the solution, Senate Bill 1. It adds $355 million a year compounded for the next 10 years. So education, or the state of Illinois, needs to come up with $3.5 billion extra that we currently don't have. That's what that bill commits to, and it is the solution to funding education. The main driver to fund it is creating more opportunities for people who want to live in Illinois. As we have a pie that's getting bigger and a population that's getting smaller, we're forcing those who are left to absorb more of the burden. We need to reverse that trend. We need a larger base and a smaller pie, or at least keep the pie itself the same size.
Seth, what's your plan for criminal justice reform?
We need to treat crime here in Illinois. Well, first let me go back. So one, we need to involve in law enforcement what criminal justice reform is. We need to involve the judicial system. What does reform mean? Those who are being sentenced unduly, or those who are overburdened with a long sentence that they don't deserve, we as a legislator need to look at that, taking the input of those who actually investigate the crimes, process the crimes, and issue the sentences themselves. I do believe in parole for those who have been reformed versus permanent incarceration.
Tom,
Can you repeat the whole question?
what is your plan for criminal justice reform?
So I've been honored and lucky enough to work on a lot of that. I work on it with Kwame Raoul, who is becoming our Attorney General. He has passed a lot of bills to deal with recidivism and handle sort of the situations going on. Matter of fact, the governor just signed a bill today that we passed in the General Assembly. Did you know you couldn't get a license to be a barber if you were a convicted felon, but yet an actual course in prison was teaching you how to be a barber? So you couldn't actually, if they taught you a skill in prison, you couldn't take it out to the general world and actually utilize that. We have passed that. In my last election, on the day the governor signed another issue to deal with criminal justice reform that I voted for, that he signed, mail pieces came out that said I was soft on crime. So my goal is to keep people out of prison, to keep people from going back to prison if they've been in there before, to give them technical skills while they're in prison so that they can come out and be productive and get an actual life and a job once they're outside.
Tom, do you have a position on gun control?
So I have a lot of positions on gun control. This year, there have been a lot of tragedies that have gone on, and we have passed a lot of bills that have come through the Illinois General Assembly. One of the bills we passed was the 72-hour waiting period. Another bill was passing the bump stocks. This is a constant issue that is going to be plaguing every country, every state. I was glad that we passed the concealed carry bill that has the strongest mandates and the strongest fixes out there. It would be nice if we would see on a U.S. level that the U.S. Congress would take up some of the issues that we have taken up here in Illinois and take up some of the points that we have done and we have established, such as FOID cards, such as making sure you have background checks, such as making sure you take a class for your concealed carry. None of that is available or necessary in any other state.
Seth, do you have a position on gun control?
I do. I believe wholeheartedly in the Second Amendment. However, we need to keep guns out of people's hands that don't have the ability or capacity to use them and maybe wanting to use them for wrong things. No one should be allowed to own a gun illegally. It should not happen. We're seeing it on the south side of Chicago. We're seeing it in places where people are using guns for crime and not recreation. They're not using them for self-protection. They're using them to do illicit things. Those loopholes need to be closed, in my opinion. I am for banning bump stocks. I'm for banning trigger guards. I am for keeping guns out of schools, as my wife is an educator. And I grew up in Iowa and used to bring a shotgun to school to go pheasant hunting afterwards. So I appreciate legal, lawful ownership of guns, not illegal ownership of guns.
Okay. Staying with Seth, how would you encourage job growth?
One, we need a stable government. So as a former corporate executive, I used to work at Cullerton. I used to evaluate facilities and where we should go in acquiring companies. And one of the first things you look to was a stable environment and one that businesses are not going to be penalized. We have excessive reforms. We have our worker compensation system, a little technical, causation. You have a 1% causation threshold here in Illinois in order to file a workers' compensation claim. Our neighboring states, you must prove that 25% of your injury was caused while working on the job. So it is easy to take advantage of our resources and assets by being 5 miles over the border in Indiana, lowering your worker compensation cost. That's a problem. We need to address that, and we need to allow those businesses to come in and be competitive here in Illinois.
Tom, job growth, what's your plan?
So there's multiple ways to deal with this and to bring this forward. But one way specifically that I actually have done and promoted for job growth, and the governor was kind enough to sign my bill a year ago, this December, so about 10 months ago, is I worked across the aisle with multiple members of the General Assembly, and we lowered LLC fees here in Illinois. Illinois had the most uncompetitive and highest LLC fees in the state. So to start a business in this state, it would cost you $750 on top of every other cost that goes along with it. We have now reduced that so that we are actually the lowest in the Midwest, and we are actually promoting not only job growth. Small businesses are actually nationwide hiring more people than larger companies. So promoting small businesses, promoting people to be entrepreneurs, promoting people to come forward is something I was proud I was able to tackle. I was proud I had Republicans and Democrats on my side dealing with this, and I was proud the governor signed it.
There were several questions, so I'm going to kind of collapse them for time. But what's your feeling on immigration and immigration reform in Illinois? Tom?
I believe Illinois is a great state. I say we welcome people. I am proud that people are coming here to this state. I'm hoping they are building lives here in this state. I want this state to be as welcoming as possible for everybody to come here. We should have our arms open. We should be able to work with people, and we should be able to find them a path to citizenship. And I appreciate that Illinois has such a diverse culture. I appreciate that the city of Chicago, any street you walk on, you can hear multiple languages. You can hear multiple languages whenever you walk down the city streets of Chicago, and I appreciate that. And if you look at DuPage County, the diversity coming to DuPage County and the immigrant population coming to DuPage County, we are seeing a very diverse DuPage County. It looks a lot different than it did 20 years ago, and I applaud that. And I applaud that my children go to school at Willowbrook, which I believe our principal said there are 65 languages spoken in Willowbrook.
Seth, immigration reform in Illinois.
I absolutely love immigrants because I'm married to one. My in-laws are immigrants, okay? I've talked with them in depth about this subject. And the thing that comes up is it has to be legal. There has to be a process for legal immigration. And when we talk about those who are here, there has to be a process in which they can become legal. But we need to bring people out of the shadows. We can no longer have them being taken advantage of because they're illegal. So we need to focus on them. But any changes we do needs to follow a legal process for them to come here to the United States, of which then they get the benefits of being a U.S. citizen, they get the benefits of being a resident of the state of Illinois, and they can also contribute to the base in which those funds are distributed from.
Okay, final question for you both, and we'll stick with Seth. What's your position on fair mapping? Who should be in charge?
We need to take the mapping process out of the hands of the politicians. And that is what this election is about, because in 2020 the maps are redrawn and they are effective in the 2022 election. If we have a unified House, Senate, and governorship, you can count on 10 more years going to 2032 of gerrymandered maps. Right now, I believe in a engineered or objective system, such as Iowa, where they look at counties, they look at logical boundaries in which to draw their maps. Tom has been knocking 120,000 doors, we're matching them. We both would probably agree that the streets and the way they're drawn. We go walk down the streets, this side of it is in, this side is out. Neighborhoods are split. I believe in fair mapping.
So Seth and I actually both agreed on this point back 2 years ago. I believe in a computerized model. There are federal standards that all mapping has to be done by, based on demographic, ethnicity, income levels, all through the federal government that have all been settled in court and case dispute. As we go through there, we should be able to utilize a computerized generated system that puts in and takes into account all those different models, all those different percentages, all those different rationales, and brings out a map for us. So that is how I believe the best way and the fairest way to do a map would be, so that it's not just one person going, well, your house is over here, so let's move it there. And that's how I've been since 2012, and I said it in 12, I said it in 16, and I'll say it again in 18.
Okay, thank you both. Now we're ready for your closing statements, and we'll start with Tom.
First of all, thank you very much for holding this forum. This was a tremendous opportunity for us to get together, a tremendous opportunity for all of you to hear from us, and hopefully the thousands and millions of people watching at home. I really appreciate the opportunity to come and chat. This will be my third election. I was elected in 2012. I was elected in 2016. I've consolidated government. I've looked to reduce our burden here in the people of DuPage County. I've worked across the aisle. I've gotten more bills actually signed by Governor Rauner than I had signed by Governor Quinn. I have found ways to be sort of a sane, common sense voice that works with everybody in both chambers. And I look forward to being your next state senator and to being your state senator again. And I ask for your vote on November 6th. Remember, we are 39 and a half days away.
Thank you, Tom. Seth, closing statement.
Again, thank you very much. It's an honor to be sitting here in front of all of you. Tom, thank you for being with us. Greatly appreciate it, so the voters get to see us at the same time. I'm going to go back to the opening. I'm an engineer. I'm a small business owner. I get to keep my business as a state farm agent when elected, so it's not how I feed my family primarily. I'm going down there to help fix our state, to help make it a place where people want to live. And I appreciate Tom's service. As mentioned, he is going for his third term as a senator. If you like how things are going in Illinois, please vote for Tom, because he has done some good things. But if you want some fundamental change that needs to happen so people want to move here, give that person who has an engineering degree, a family, a small business, a chance to go make a difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.